Hey, welcome everybody. I'm super excited to take you through my Easy Speech Builder Workbook. This is a workbook that I use for all of my speaking engagements. It is something that's really cool. I love this workbook because if you're like me and you're doing some speaking, sometimes the hardest part is the starting part. When you're starting and you're just like, oh man, what am I going to talk about? There's been times where I've gone for months and months and months thinking about a topic or a speech, and then I practice a speech for only a couple weeks, right? So what we're going to do when it comes to this, right, is I'm going to show you how to do this in like 10 to 15 minutes, right? And when you get ready to do the same, you should be able to sit down, and any speech that you have, you should be able to sit down, write that speech down, the structure of the speech, get it all squared away, and you'll be good to go. And you can spend more time practicing the speech and not building or procrastinating on the speech, right? So, again, welcome to the Easy Speech Builder. Thinking about this, the first thing that I think about is how preparation is important, right? When you get ready to give a speech, a lot of times when some of the people that I work with that have a fear of public speaking, they have this fear of public speaking because what happens is if they have to get up and they have to do a speech, they're just too scared to even prepare for it. And then what happens when you don't prepare for a speech, you're going to bomb more times than not. You're going to bomb when you don't prepare for a speech. And then what happens is, keep saying what happens. But what will happen will be you will not prepare for a speech and you won't give a speech. And we all know that giving speeches or speaking in public is a very, very important thing in our society. Leaders are speakers. I'm not saying that you can't be a leader if you can't speak. We've had plenty of leaders that didn't speak, but let me tell you, the leaders, if you look in our society today, is the people that are speaking, the people that are saying what's on their hearts, they're saying what's on their minds, so that people can put some things into action. So you want to be one of those people that are putting things into action. So I want to encourage you to use the power of speaking, and this is a good place to start. And that's building a speech. So, what you're going to do is you're going to think about three different titles of your speech, three different titles of what that speech can be. So, let's give an example. Let me just look around here. I love Sharpies. All right. I love Sharpies. Here's why you should love Sharpies. I love Sharpies because right. So I'm just thinking of random stuff. So think about the speech that you need to give, and write those three different things down there. And if you have more, you can write them in there. But I would just say write three, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go back up and you're going to circle whichever was the best title, right? Whichever was the best title for that speech. You could change it, but this will give you a good start, right? So then once you're done with that, you figured out what the title of your speech is. The title should go well with whatever the topic of your speech is. You're going to write down the final below. And a lot of times in speaking, like I said, this is part of the procrastination phase as speakers, where we say, oh man, I'm going to ponder on this for a while. So just write in your title. You don't have to ponder on it for a whole bunch of time and procrastinate. You got a title of your speech. You can always go back. If you're in the middle of the night, you're meditating or sleeping, whatever you do in the middle of the night, and you say, oh man, I got it. This is what my title needs to be. You can always go back and write that title in, right? This stuff isn't in stone, but it is going to give you a basic structure, and it's going to help you with the procrastination of speaking. So below that, you're going to list one sentence, a one sentence description of the purpose you're trying to achieve with your speech. So if I'm still talking about Sharpies in my poor example of giving a speech, if I'm still talking about Sharpies, one sentence description for this topic that we're talking about could be something like, Sharpies are very useful, and I'm going to show you the reasons why they're so useful, right? So, one sentence description of the purpose you're trying to achieve with the speech. So, my purpose, and then I can probably go down there and write, it's brainstorming, right? Maybe I'm a Sharpie salesperson and I want them to buy Sharpies. Or maybe the purpose of my speech is to get them to laugh because I'm giving a speech on something that's so ridiculous. Or maybe my purpose of the speech is so that I can get a promotion because I'm able to speak on something as ridiculous as a Sharpie. So I can just go on and on with that. And once you reach the one that is like the final one, right? Once you reach that, and you're like, okay, this is it. That's the one that you're going to circle as well, and that is going to be the purpose of your speech. And you're not necessarily going to write this or say this out loud, but this is just so that you can have it in your head, your purpose, your destination, your compass, where you are going, right? So now now it's time for you to write your speech. You're going to list 15 talking points, ideas, phrases, stats, examples, or illustrations that you could use in your speech. You're going to write those right here, right? One, two, three, four, five. You're going to write all of them. Try to fill in. Think of 15 talking points. Just think about them. Go until you're fully exhausted, right? So you're not going to use all 15, but just write them out. You're just thinking this out. This is a brainstorming tool, right? Instead of procrastination, you're writing this stuff out. You're going to go through the list. Once you're done, you're going to go through this list that you've created, and you're going to circle 3 to 5 of these topics. And this is going to be dependent on the length of your speech. The key points that you're going to have that's going to have the most impactful points in your speech, those are going to be the ones that you're going to circle, right? So, one is, you go through and you're like, oh man, I really like number one. I really like number seven. I really like number 10. You're going to circle that. I chose three, right? I typically would choose three because I feel like you can speak about three topics for 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how much time that you have. But if you go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 15 topics, you're going to lose those people after seven, I guarantee you. So just pick three topics, right? So below, you're going to go back to that page and you're going to look at those topics and you're going to organize those 3 to 5 topics that you circled, and you're going to list them in order that you're going to cover, right? So there's some space for some more. So just list them in order. So point one, point two, point three, boom, you got them in order. Now that you've selected and organized the main points of your speech, you're going to use what I like to call is the prep formula that's going to help you develop these talking points. And I'm not going to pretend like I invented this. This has been around since like forever. So your talking points, with those 3 talking points that we talked about, you are going to have your point of view. That's where you're going to state your thought, idea, or fact at the beginning of each point. Let's change the subject. I don't want to talk about Sharpies anymore, but let's say we're talking about leadership and speaking, right? Because we all know, I don't know, did I say this already? But if you're a leader, it's more effective for you to be able to get things done if you're a powerful speaker, right? So that's kind of like that's my thought, right? That's my point of view as a leader. I firmly believe that public speaking is one of the most powerful tools in our arsenal. Public speaking to connect with people on a human level builds trust and rapport with them and inspire positive actions towards meaningful change. I think that is a strong point of view, don't you? Right? And then so next you're gonna give them a reason, because once you got them captivated by your point of view, you're gonna give them a reason. This is an explanation to quantify your point of view. So I like to always bring up Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela effectively used public speaking to connect with people on a human level build trust and rapport with them, and inspire positive action towards meaningful change. His speeches inspired the anti apartheid movement and became a rallying cry for justice and equality. Ooh, if that is not a reason that will make you get up and want to become a speaker as a leader, I don't know what another reason, I don't know what else will work, right? So then I'll give them an example. Here, you're going to illustrate or use an example to reinforce and prove your point of view. So this is your proof. For example, Mandela's 1994 speech at the UN called for reconciliation in post-apartheid South Africa, inspiring a nation, a nationwide movement, and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Boom. That's your example. So then to wrap up that point, to wrap up the topic, one of those three topics that you chose, you're gonna restate the first P, and this is gonna enhance your idea even further, right? So the way that I would go about this is one of the most one of the strongest resources in a leader's arsenal is undoubtedly public speaking, as it allows them to connect with people on a human level, build trust, and inspire positive change. Imagine if Nelson Mandela didn't use his voice to bring people together, not only his people, but all people around the world. Imagine if you don't use your voice, right? So that's how I would end with that point of view. And you'll just continue to do this for each and every point. And because of the sake of time, I didn't go further into those reasons. What I would do, that point of view, you can enhance that point of view. I'm pointing at it like you can see me, but look at the arrow. You can enhance that point of view. You don't want to give a whole bunch of different points of view, but you can enhance it. You can give reasons why leaders make speakers, right? And the different reasons. You can further expound on that. You can talk about the person that Mandela was. You can talk about how he was in an unfortunate circumstance. You can really give his story in this reasons part, and then the example you can expand and expound on that a little bit further. And point of view, this is where you're really going to nail it home. And like I said before, you are going to you're going to really nail it home with this last point of view, and by restating that first point of view that you talked about before. But that's kind of, if you look at it this like it's a sandwich, your first point of view and your point of view to bring it home, those are the pieces of bread, and the reasons and the example right there, that will be your the reasons and the example right now, that will be your meat and your condiments. So now that we got the structure, this is how you would write your speech. This is kind of what it would look like. You write in your intro something that'll really get them their attention. You use some kind of funny anecdote, some stat, or better yet, a thought-provoking question. Your body. This would be the prep framework that we talked about right here. You're going to put that stuff right there in your speech. This is going to be your final outline, by the way. And then your key point, that'll be your first point, your point of view, your reasons, your example, then that point, and then you're going to keep going over and over and over until you've done and you've exhausted those those three main points that you circled right there. You're going to keep going, and then you're done and you've created a speech. So again, if you need support further with your speech, now that you got the structure, you need a little bit of help with the meat and potatoes, please feel free to reach out to me at info@tonytaylorinspires, or you can go to website. You could go to speakuniversity.org and look at some of the products and services that we have. And feel free to reach out to me, and I would love to help you further enhance on your speech. I'll see you later. Bye.